Sonic the motherfucking Hedgehog. First seen as an air freshener in Rad Mobile, Sonic Blast processed his way into our homes and into our hearts. Sonic was built to be an amalgamation of the 1990s itself. He was colorful, fast, headstrong, and filled with teen attitude. Sonic's design was based on Michael Jackson, the good one, and the get-it-done attitude of US President Bill Clinton. Which was odd, considering his villain Dr. Eggman Ivo Robotnik was based on Theodore Roosevelt. Just two US presidents fighting for control over the planet Mobius, no big deal. Dr. Robotnik used his genius to build an army of animatronic nightmares running on the tiers of gentle forest creatures to take over the planet Mobius. All was going according to plan until the day he met Sonic the Hedgehog. The first few Sonic games charted their rivalry, as Sonic went to the edge of the world chasing the good doctor and destroying every machine in his path. Sonic met new friends, got new skills, and found himself in some unique places. Then suddenly things fell apart. As gaming evolved and adapted new mechanics entering the 3D era, Sonic struggled to find balance in both playability and story content. Sonic began fighting monsters, knights, genies, idiots, and his own fanbase. For the most part, the future of Sonic gaming seems to be a retrospective of the first few games that made him the king of the 90s. But can Sonic make a good film? The answer is no. Sonic is what I would like to call a nightmare scenario for filmmakers. Sonic's legacy began before the internet, back when markets and demographics were divided by geographic and cultural boundaries. Sega had a few chapter companies located in different regions: Sega Japan, Sega America, Sega Europe, etc. And each one was responsible for marketing Sonic in their own unique demographics. And as a result, many different iterations of Sonic were invented to bend towards different cultures. And this worked fairly well. But no one ever thought that there would be a huge communication network established to bring audiences together, or that the Sonic property would last long enough for this to become a problem. When all was said and done, Sonic was left with more than 50 video games, 1 animated movie, 6 comic book series, 5 television series, and a shit ton of merchandise. Holy crap, that is amazing. But there's one problem. All of this media is totally different, and Sonic has been fractured into a complete cluster. So let's dive in and take a look at all this mess. The first Japanese iteration of Mr. Needlemouse featured him in a band with a human girlfriend named Madonna, while the US concept placed Sonic as a Nebraskan named Sonny living in a hole with his mother and 11 sisters. Okay, god damn it. Let's pull back and take a look at just the games for a minute. The classic games were simple and straightforward. Sonic chases Eggman breaking a stuff. Eggman builds larger stuff. Sonic breaks that too. Eggman gets furious, add a couple of new characters with new abilities, some neat thematic scenery, a few mecha boss battles, and boom, a memorable and lasting franchise. The modern games added a whole hell of a lot of new characters, human cities, aliens, mystical creatures, alternative dimensions, but continuity and gameplay varied greatly. Now let's look at the expanded media, starting with the animated film. Sonic the Animated Film was based off of a 1.5-minute long animation created for Sonic CD, but didn't look nearly as good and wasn't nearly as interesting.
He forced me to put on these clothes and then flew away without saying anything.
In the film, Sonic lives in a crashed airplane in a world with odd scenery and dimensional rules. Also with a human president and human cat girl.
Robotnik, don't you think I look cute?
Let's take a look at the TV shows. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was a show for young kids. This show was almost as bizarre as Ren and Stimpy and was purely a ridiculous situational comedy.
It's your body. No one has the right to touch you if you don't want them to. So what do? First, you say no. Then, you get out of there.
Sonic the Hedgehog, or SATAM for Sonic Saturday Morning, was a dark, depressing world where Dr. Ivo Robotnik betrayed his entire species by defecting to Mobotropolis, a city ruled by anthropomorphic animals.
Everyone is anxious to meet the man responsible for winning the Great War, and your plans for dismantling the military are approved as presented. Get started at once.
Of course, sire.
And then Robotnik betrayed them by using a device called the Roboticizer to enslave the entire city. Now Sonic, Tails, and a team of original characters fight fascism using guerrilla warfare and terrorist tactics. Sonic Underground is an animated series created in France. This show took a lot from the previous one, except this time Sonic has 2 siblings, Manic and Sonia. Together they formed a band, wrote songs, and fought fascism, all while looking for their lost mother.
I long for my children, but I have to wait. To act too soon could seal their fate.
They made a vow their mother will be found. Sonic Underground!
Sonic X is the Japanese animated series later created to follow the modern games. Now Sonic and friends are sent to the human world and they're crashing at some human child's house. They go on complicated adventures similar to the modern games, but with a lot more boring, off-putting scenes where they hang out with real-life human characters.
What is this?
Cat food.
Ah, no wonder. Tastes like there's cat in it.
The website I went to said most hedgehogs love cat food.
Sonic Boom is a complete redesign created in Australia. In this series, everybody gets a new look as they hit a new 3D animation style. This series was set up to be a comedic action-adventure, but it immediately lost the action-adventure and just became a comedy for kids.
Now, Sonic, do you have something you'd like to share with Eggman?
You're a horrible roommate and nobody in this house likes you.
Now let's take a look at the comics. Sega did release an official comic depicting Sonic's origins, and it's extremely disappointing. Both Sonic and Robotnik are tragic results of experiments. Sonic ran on a treadmill until the cobalt effect turned him blue, and the good Dr. Kintobor absorbed evil energy from the Chaos Emeralds infused with a bad egg to become the evil Dr. Robotnik. Sonic the Comic is the European adaptation that expanded on the official Sega comic and ran with it. This comic went for over 180 issues before it was officially cancelled, but the determined fans breathed new life into the series with an unofficial online version that continued the stories that were following along with the modern games. And now for the hard one. The Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series. This one is totally insane. This is the longest ever contiguous run of the Sonic lore, and it's pretty much a complete mix of every single TV show, movie, and game. I loved this series. I bought issue number 2 in a grocery store when I was 5. It still has crayon markings in it, look. The comic started off goofy and ridiculous like Adventures of Sonic, and then slowly became more serious and dark as it featured all the characters from SITAM. After that show was cancelled, the comic continued the in-depth story that led to Dr. Robotnik's death. Sonic met new friends, he met new villains, a new Robotnik appeared from another dimension, and he just kept running. The setup and rules of this universe were extremely thought out. Where and how Sonic lived, Sonic's family, the universe's political structure, adaptations with the games expanded the universe so wide that they needed an all-new comic just to hold it all. There's even a page where Sonic's dad spills the beans that Sonic's real name is Maurice Wentworth the Hedgehog. Look at that. Is that what you want? This is what happens when you dig too deep into the expanded lore. Things can get really stupid. New readers complained that it was hard to get into due to the expanded lore and extreme depth, so they created an all-new series called Sonic Mega Drive, which focused more on the classic games, in both story and art style. But disaster struck. Due to lawsuits from writers, they were forced to reboot the Sonic Archie universe, in order to erase characters created by that writer. This hit devastated the comic. Multiple storylines were never completed, and as of the creation of this video, the series was cancelled, as Sega decided not to renew their rights of Sonic to Archie Comics. And just short of issue 300. Damn. That was a lot. And now you can see how different Sonic was for the different kids that grew up with him. And a lot of these fans are extremely dedicated to their unique iteration of Sonic.
Sonic fans, I beg of you, please stop supporting Sonic Adventure 3 and support my idea of a 3D platforming classic Sonic game. Please! Please! You frickin' fan fricks ruined Sonic! Oh, frick! Oh, frick!
I'm glad we could get all that out of the way, because next time we're diving straight into everything we know about the upcoming 2018 Sonic the Hedgehog film. So be sure to like and subscribe and check us out next time as we dive straight into what I'm guessing is going to be a total disaster.